Hello, my friends. My name is Marissa. If you've been to my channel before, welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome. I'm very excited to offer you guys these divination sessions. Soul blueprint readings are my favorite. And these readings today, the current story of your life was inspired by the Kim Krans Archetypes Guidebook. You guys know that I love to give credit where credit is due and like when I remember who to give that credit to, okay? Because I don't always remember. But in this case, I've been studying this spread for the past couple days just because there's a lot of like layers and undertones to this one. And I just really want to deliver something that is high value to you guys and very applicable and useful to you guys at this time. So there's 4 aspects that we will be addressing in these readings. We're addressing the who. So the part of you that needs to be addressed in regards to this current chapter that you find yourself in. The next, we're diving into the where. So this is kind of like the energy that surrounds the situation or, you know, the main theme that you are currently exploring in your life. Next, we're diving into, it's like the tool or the with what. So this is what you need to find to move beyond, to release, to use in order to help the next most highest stage and level of your destiny unfold for you. And lastly, we'll be diving into the deeper purpose for why this is relevant in terms of getting a glimpse, because we never know the fullness of it from this level and we don't have enough time in a day to address it. But just to get a glimpse of why your higher self has selected this current chapter for you, the relevancy of it in terms of your soul's growth and evolution. So we have 4 groups to choose from today. You can feel free to pause if you need more time. I always use a random number generator and it's always been highly accurate for me. And when you guys are feeling ready, we're going to jump right into these readings. Hey, group number 1, welcome to your reading for your current life story, or it might be, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna end up calling this, but welcome to your reading. So I want these to be clear and very concise and just to the point. So just so you know, each row has significance. If y'all skip past my intro, let me just break down again each column for you. So over here, this is the part of you that needs to be addressed, or the part of you that is like the most dominant aspect of your like self archetype. Next, we're diving into like the energetic stage that this is taking place, like your current life's story, destiny unfolding. Lastly, we have the tool that you need to find or give up or use to unearth more of your destiny, okay? And lastly is like the underlying why as to all of this is happening. So like the challenge you need to overcome or the deeper purpose for all of this. So, and then of course I have the bottom of the deck for the tarot. So, I mean, this message is extremely concise and clear to me, pile number 1. So it seems like the part of you that needs addressed, or the part of you that is being called to the surface at this point in your incarnation as you're watching this video, is you are in some capacity here to be a guide for other people. All right, I'm not surprised that I get this card shows up so much in my readings. That just tends to be the type of people, the types of light workers that are drawn into, my field, I guess, are beings that are old souls and that have been around for quite some time and that have very ancient and old wisdom to bestow to the planet. They are lights. This is like my hermit card. There's a lot here that talks about going within, okay, and finding wisdom within yourself and extending that light and that wisdom to other people when they need it the most, okay? And so what I'm seeing here with the part of you that is the most dominant right now is you have incredible capacities for teaching and for like communicating this wisdom, whether you're writers, whether you are because we have the Magician coming up, tells me that the people drawn to this there's going to be such a myriad of ways that as a collective, you guys are doing this. And this also tells me that you guys just are like such natural teachers that you might have been playing around with a multitude of ways, like a multitude of mediums in terms of like how you communicate. So you could like dabble in poetry, then you could dabble in, you could be a fitness instructor. You could also like to go to Toastmasters and give speeches. You could also be working on a book, It's like, this kind of tells me that there's, a multitude of ways that you guys might be guided to teaching as individuals and as a collective. I just feel like there's a lot of different ways that this is showing up for those beings that are drawn to pile number 1 today. I am seeing here that there's a little bit of a guard, okay? Which I'm not surprised to see that the ending of the reading has to do with opening of the heart and letting go of past wounds and betrayals, etc. And so I feel like that might be a big influence right now. And like the type of teacher that you're showing up as, there's a little bit of a guard that is kind of impacting the way that you're creating. And, you know, like no judgment, and please don't let this a reading ever let you feel down about yourself or what you're doing. But it's just, there's a little bit of inhibition. Okay. And I see it's because you've been burned. All right. You've been burned in the past and you've developed certain types of protection mechanisms. And I feel like, although in our professional life, we can almost try to compartmentalize it as a collective of humanity, as a species, we're moving into this understanding that we are holistic beings and there's no such thing as being able to compartmentalize any part of ourselves, right? So like who you show up as in your professional life is going to deeply be influenced by your personal life and your past traumas and how much those have been integrated or not, right? And so I'm just seeing that there's a little bit of just like feeling on guard, which is a beautiful gateway into like the energetic stage that this is taking place on is the temple, which, you know, being clarified by the 10 of Cups upright and the Queen of Wands upright. This is about like a type of magnetism that you start to develop the more that you become self-sourced. And that's what a true teacher is anyways. A true teacher is constantly learning as a student of life, and they know how to be self-sourced. They know how to make life make sense to them and the human experience make sense, and to be able to live life in a way that is light no matter what types of, you know, purges are happening or grief or loss, etc. And I feel like you, group number 1, are really in a time where you're learning about your magnetism a lot more. And I feel like you guys are just at a point to, regardless of this, like, because this influence isn't too strong, okay, but it's still noticeable enough that I feel like because you guys are pretty in tune already and very sensitive energetically, that when you notice a little bit of your inauthenticity come up, like depending on, you know, your setting and, you know, are you anxious? Are you doing something new? Like when you notice your own inauthenticity come up because of these past protection mechanisms that you've developed, I feel like it really gets to you, okay? And the reason I'm saying that is because you seem like someone that is already very like self-sourced and very aware, very spiritual, very, very wise, right? You just have like the codes. I'm seeing codes within this blueprint that really suggest a wise soul, someone who has taken many, many incarnations and kind of gotten the gist of what life is about, okay? And so you're someone that puts peace as a priority, or that you've learned to put peace as a priority. Maybe this is not something that you have always done. But overall, I'm seeing that you guys aren't the ones that generally leech off other people. If anything, people probably develop a lot harder and deeper of attachments to you, if anything else, just because you do have such a clear connection to your higher self and to whatever makes sense to you in terms of why we're here and life and spirituality, whatever you would call it. I'm seeing that, you know, you are naturally very nurturing and very giving, and your cup runneth over. And so because so, you are so able to share that with other people. And yeah, the Queen really tells me about, especially the Queen of Wands, this is about creating from a place of magnetism, especially with the Magician here. This tells me that, you know, you're learning what it means to relax into your power and to kind of let it unfold versus trying to like prove your power, or, you know, like there's a lot here about communicated here in this energetic backdrop about relaxation. And so, you know, it's just like carrying yourself in a way that doesn't feel forced. And I feel like you guys are or have been getting many invitations that life has been providing you of what that means and what that looks like and what true power is and where your true sense of authority is born from. And just like what makes you feel the most confident is when you recognize that when you don't try and when you're really relaxed into yourself, like you have so much to give and people love you. People love being around you and want to create with you and want to spend time with you. And then it's when these sneaky little protection mechanisms come in, I feel like that's when you start to feel you're starting to recognize that more is what I'm seeing. All right. And how that's influencing parts of your life that are really important to you. And I do feel like your purpose, your dharma, what you're here to give to the planet is very important to you. All right. There's a lot here about, yeah, you're a very effective communicator as well. A lot of Mercurian energy that I'm definitely feeling from this pile. So the guys are having me, I wasn't surprised. So this aspect is what you need to use to find or to give up. Okay. And so with the Venom coming up, and then you have the Ten of Pentacles, you guys know I don't really take reversals if you've been here for a while, but this so clearly spun around. Like it flew out of my hand and it spun around, that I knew it was meant to be reversed. And so when I flipped it over and I saw it was the Ten of Pentacles out in reverse, I was like, this makes total fucking sense to me, okay? And the Knight of Pentacles. So I feel like this is really saying this tool is what you need to give up, okay? And this comes back more to the protection mechanisms. I feel like you guys, again, coming back to that Mercurian energy, so you guys might have like Gemini, Mercury, or like Mars in Gemini or something. Or yeah, like you could have like a Mercury in, what am I trying to say? In a sign that is ruled by Mercury is what I'm saying, or a Mars. Because I really am seeing here that, this kind of goes back to protection mechanisms. I feel like, this talks about being careful of what you say. And I feel like the reason why I'm getting all this, like, maybe you have a Mars or a Mercury in like Gemini or something. For example, I have Mars in Gemini, okay? And so I completely understand what's going on here, all right? So, like, for me, if someone leaves like a rude comment or says something rude to me, like that Gemini energy, especially in Mars, of aggression wants to come through and in a very tactful way, verbally, I don't want to say verbally assault someone, but it's just like, instead of just leaving it and being like, all right, your karma is your karma, it's like, I can't just let it be. And my guides have been working with me too and being like, don't entertain this. Like, you're doing, more things for yourself. You're creating more karma for yourself, or at the very least, you're not helping it loosen up, right? But there's like such a stubbornness behind me when it's like someone tries to tell me how it is, right? And so I feel like you guys might have similar undertones of like, who do you think you are? Like, come correct, or like, get the fuck out of my face, right? And so I feel like if you guys have been struggling with finances or just like whatever you're doing, I feel like this is really saying that when you seal your auric field with not entertaining those things as much, like just putting your head down to the bullshit, right, is what this Knight of Pentacles really reminds me of. Is like staying dedicated and like focused, single-minded, right? Single-minded on like why you're doing what you're doing, and not being so distracted maybe by these people, because again, I am getting the sense that you might be in the public eye somehow, or you just might work with a lot of people. And so, especially if you already do have like more earth, if you have like earth energy in your chart, this doesn't have to, this has nothing to do with it, but like if you have earth in your chart or not is what I'm trying to say. But like if you're already critical of yourself, I should just say, then like getting criticism for other people is just like more poison on the wound, right? So I feel like something that needs to be given up is maybe this idea of needing to stand up for yourself. And I am getting the sense that you guys might have been backstabbed and, betrayed by certain people in the past. And so, there was a point on my journey, and actually this is how I normally operate, but because I'm in a channeling state or because I'm like, tuning into the guides and I called them in and, I prayed, whatever, I can definitely feel this message is for me as well. But there is definitely some hurt in your field that when I feel like it's almost like you're living out those past opportunities that you didn't take to stick up for yourself, that now that you have already unearthed a certain degree of like true confidence, now you're like, oh, like it feels kind of good to be able to tell people where to put it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like you might have come from a past where maybe you didn't, like you are very empathic. I am saying that. And maybe it was easier to let people like walk all over you and to not really fend for yourself. So I'm hearing it feels good, but it's important to remember that, that's only important for people that are like long-standing and going to be in your life for a while. Because when it comes to these petty ass people that, you know, are projecting and that just, you know, want to get a rise out of someone and that are just like, you know, challenging someone, that we only get challenged if people see you as high value. You know what I mean? Like, people are more likely to challenge someone that feels that, you know, they're just trying to poke and prod at your foundation. So kind of take that as a compliment is what I'm hearing. But I feel like you have some holes in your field because you're letting things get to you that don't matter. And it's like you're trying to, it's like the choosing your battles kind of thing. And I'm going to have to go back and listen to this for myself, because this is definitely something that I totally needed to hear, you know, too. So I'm grateful for this opportunity for all of us to grow. File number 1. But I'm hearing that maybe you don't see the connection. You don't see the connection yet until this starts to transition, until we give up a little bit of this, like, you know, poison, this venom that we're keeping alive within ourselves by entertaining it in other people when they bring it up to us, or when they activate that within us, and like finding healthier ways to channel that. And, you know, the Knight of Pentacles in this deck in particular is very dedicated and very hardworking and like so disciplined. All right. So I feel like there is a burning, like, you know, biting the bullet, like letting that burning of that purification happen, and understanding their, like, other people's karma is their karma. And in due time, they will understand as well how they've been holding their own selves back. But I feel like this is, your guides are bringing a lot of awareness around here, because you guys are so wise, and you have found such a deep degree of peace and true happiness. Like, you guys are a pile that I feel like would just, you know, be content having like a picnic with yourself and your dogs, or yourself and your cat, or like, you know, just a person that you really care about, or even by yourself. Like, you have become self-sourced. It's very clear, and that's why you're such a great and impactful teacher. There's just some of this old karma that's running itself off from these past hurts and betrayals, and feeling like no one stuck up for you. You didn't know how to stick up for yourself. And so now that you've unearthed so much confidence already, you're like, well, you know, this is what, you know, you can do with that opinion. But I am hearing that it's okay to let those things go, and it's important to only address those things in the areas that actually matter. So like your friendships, your long-standing romantic relationships, or just your relationships in general, right? The people that are in your life for the long term. That's the only time it's really necessary to address people when they, you know, speak out their assholes, or, you know, have something to say about you to you. Otherwise, if it's people on the internet, or like, you know, people that barely know you, whatever field you're in, then it's like, you know, let it go. And I feel like you'll see in due time, when you like are not feeding into that paradigm, there's a direct correlation here between your business expanding and your finances expanding, and just like having new creative ideas, etc. But I feel like there's a little bit part of this, and, you know, it's whatever, like, it's whatever. Like, there was a period where it was really necessary and needed for me to, you know, see that I had a backbone, and see that I had some teeth, and I will use them if I need to. And now that I've gotten some glimpses of that, and now that I'm doing this reading, I see that, you know, it is okay to lay that down and know, okay, it's there if I ever need it. But like, do we ever really need to spit venom into the world, right? And so I feel like there's like an up-leveling that's happening. And moving on into the why, the challenge to overcome the deeper purpose is because this is feeding this. Okay, this is fighting against this open heart that wants to come through. And I'm not surprised the 3 of Swords wanted to come through when I was shuffling for this, and it ended up coming up at the bottom of the deck anyways. Like, I saw it flash, right, when I was shuffling. So I feel like, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if you guys have had this card come up in multiple readings, because there are a significant group of people that have had this and this come up quite a bit, you know, with just how many cards are in this deck in particular. It's crazy that the same ones always come up, right? Because you can't make this shit up. Like, you know, there's a certain group of souls energetically that are kind of all, you know, soul family. We're all going through the same, like, similar evolutions at a similar time, okay? And so I feel like the more that you open your heart, the more that your fates are going to turn very quickly. And like you're calling in more soul family, right? The less you're entertaining this, it's like the more you're calling in people that really get you and really respect you. And I feel like you're probably already seeing glimpses of that. You're probably already seeing glimpses of whatever it is that you're here to do. You're already seeing the sprouts of it, right? The roots have already taken form, but I'm really feeling for you, pal one, it's just going to take off to a completely different degree. The more that you open your heart and the more that we, you know, like on one level, yeah, like it's about compassion, right? And also too, I'm hearing it's important to not get caught in spiritual dogma. And so if something honestly feels organic for you to address, then, you know, you can address it. It's never about like what we're really doing or saying, but it's about the place we're coming from. So you can speak something to someone extremely respectfully and tell them to fuck off extremely respectfully with love in your heart. Okay. And you can say something, you can do something very similar with hate in your heart, right? So it's not necessarily the words. Like, it's really important to not get caught in the concepts of what it means to be the higher person, right? But to let your guide, your inner teacher guide you through these situations that can sometimes be complex, or, you know, learning when you need to say something, how you need to say something. But again, it's not necessarily what you're saying, but it's the place you're sitting in when you're saying something, right? So yeah, you can't, like, talking about love with hate in your heart is kind of doing like a disservice, right? And that's like, yeah, I don't know. It's a story for a different day, I guess. But I feel like in a very powerful way, once this kind of runs itself out organically, and it's like, okay, I'm not doing this because I think I have to, but I'm doing it because I'm truly like, it is eating away at my fulfillment and my peace, and, you know, like caring too much about opinions that don't matter at the end of the day. It's because, again, the temple, it's all about you making that connection with God, your inner God, the inner guru. And so anything that is happening outside of that, you know, it's just like, thank you, right? Like the palms together to me is like, thank you. Like, this is a teaching. Thank you for the teaching. Like addressing every situation, no matter whether it's positive or negative seeming, like, especially if it's negative, especially if it's like, it feels like it's taking so much within us to overcome a certain negative emotion, or to let it go. It's not even about overcoming it. It's just like letting it go is so hard, right? And so when we get charged and we're like, oh God, I just want to, like, whatever, tell this person how it is. It's just like, you know, thank you for this teaching. And then again, letting it go. Because that goes hand in hand with pride, right? And pride is the biggest block to the heart chakra, all right? And so I feel like there's a lot of good fortune that is coming in for you guys once the heart opens even more, because you guys are already very heart-based and heart-led. There's just a little bit of these remnant things from, like, past connections that I feel like suggest to you that, you know, you have to, you know, it's not a safe place. And learning how to effectively establish boundaries, you know, in a tactful way, with love in the heart, right? But I do see overall that this chapter of your life is about becoming a better teacher, a greater teacher. You're already great. I feel like you've already been teachers. Like, that's definitely been, this is not new for you in this lifetime, okay? And you're deepening into that practice, especially on this time with so much chaos and so much diversity and so many opinions and so much cancel culture, etc. But I feel like you guys are, especially because this is what your energetic setting is, I feel like you guys are just like, this would, if anything, you guys are probably more hard on yourself and can't actually acknowledge how far you are. You would probably think you're not as far as you actually are in terms of how much peace you've cultivated and how much growth you've undergone. Because this influence is not too big, I'm seeing, but it is there. And it is affecting the communities, right? It is affecting your community and, like, allowing more people in. But the scales have tipped in terms of authenticity. I feel like this is kind of feeding this, perpetuating this energy of, like, creating itself, self-perpetuation. Because maybe it's like you tend to be on guard, or it doesn't matter how much positive feedback you're getting. It's like that one or two, like, people that have something negative to say triggers that wound that is still yet to be healed. And I feel like you guys do recognize karma, and you guys do understand that how people treat you as a them thing. It's not a you thing. But still, it's like, if you're being triggered, that means that there's something in your field that is still like wounded. And that's not a bad thing, right? That's just is what it is. And to, you know, how the best way to address that, learning the best way for you to not get distracted by that. Because I feel like the increase that you're waiting for, the increase that you're wanting is directly correlated to this kind of like, don't really trust you, you know, like maybe this deep desire to like tell people off or whatever it is. Okay, I get it. Sometimes I'm like, why is anyone on the road? How did you guys get your license? Okay, this can like apply to so many different areas. But this definitely is a journey into the heart and a journey into surrendering and letting go. Feels really, I feel like that's something that probably not a concept that is new to you guys at all from this energy, but it's like taking it up a notch to the next level, because there is a great expansion that wants to be had. And it's like, I feel like it's going to happen regardless, but it's like, I don't know, if you guys are ready for the next level now, then just like, maybe just take it up a notch and just like seal it off and use your positive willpower to stop, you know, to not entertain it anymore and see how fast it's going to come in. Because when this is like released and this opens up more, because we're not feeding it, we're not perpetuating it here, then I feel like your new fortune and like something really positive is going to be very noticed. Okay. And, yeah, I'm just excited to see how this pans out for you. But I really resonated with this myself. And you guys are beautiful souls and you're doing a great job. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to leave this reading here for now. I hope that this brought clarity, confirmation, peace to your heart. If it did today, maybe leave an owl in the comment section or share anything else that you gained from this reading if you feel guided to. And I do hope to see you soon. Hey group number 2, welcome to your reading. If you chose the shapeshifter, this is you. So really quick, just in case you guys skip past my beautiful intro, I'm going to break down each column for you that we have today. So we're first addressing the part of yourself that is the most dominant or that needs addressing currently in this chapter of your life. All right. Next, we're diving into like the energetic stage this is taking place in. We're diving into what you need to find, use, or give up in order for your highest destiny to unfold. And lastly, we have, you know, the deeper reason why all of this is happening, okay? So I was marinating on these energies because, again, I'm for these longer readings especially, I like to be as concise as I can and just like get to the point, you know? So what I'm seeing with you guys, like this energy is very consistent in terms of the major theme for this chapter of your life. You want to break through. You want to stop being someone for everyone. And pile number 2, this is really about like you deciding for yourself who it is you came to be. All right, there's a lot here with the 7 of Cups coming up underneath the shapeshifter. I mean, come on. Like there's so much here about like not being able to choose, or maybe there's just like an ungrounded sense that I'm getting from this. The shapeshifter is not necessarily a negative card, but just because we have these other cards lining up in this coherent reading, in this sense, I feel like you just have felt like very ungrounded and very unsure of who you are. Because we have so much page energy coming through here too, I am getting this sense of like, you guys really want to break free. I want to break free. You know, that song is like playing in my head. Like you guys really want to experience yourself in a way that is not so much dictated by externalities, and that's not dictated by your past. Okay. I feel like there is a big part of you that wants to start off in a new direction, or at least like, which is very not surprising in terms of, you know, I'm filming this the day after the eclipse or a couple days after the eclipse, and it's all about birth, rebirth, and like growing out of your environment. So it's happening in the sign or in like this specific eclipse is linked to the female reproductive system and birth. Okay. And so what we know about birth is it's a painful process. It's not comfortable, but the baby has outgrown its environment, so to speak, and is ready to be born. And so you have outgrown an environment or just like a way of being pile number 2, and you're ready to tell a different story. I feel like you've been haunted by past versions of yourself, or you've felt unable to like untether yourself from past versions of yourself, or like who other people expect you to be, maybe like different coping mechanisms, etc. And you know, the advantage to the shapeshifter is it's guided to see the kaleidoscope of things and less like single focused. So I hope that you guys are seeing this, you're able to see beyond just this like maybe very confusing portion of your life, and not really knowing where you're going or what you're doing or like what you want to do and who it is that you really came to be, and seeing that this is just a chapter of my story and that there's relevance here that maybe I'm not seeing yet, right? And so I'm just getting this sense of wanting to break out of being someone for everyone and not, at the end of the day, not really knowing who you are, okay? And so the energetic backdrop for this could be an actual like situation, or just a series of situations that you find yourself in where it's like you feel like you're walking on eggshells in terms of like, you're walking on eggshells in terms of your authentic self. But I'm also getting this sense of avoiding a big change, like avoiding understanding that, you know, on one level, it's like the inability or the unwillingness to break through, or to like maybe the desire to want to avoid a big change, or maybe not even, for some of you, it might be avoiding a big change. And for others of you, I feel like it is just like you're about to break through the surface in terms of, it feels like there's like something that is not being seen. And I think it might just be one thing, because we do have this apocalypsis, which talks about something like prolific being unveiled for us. And it's like, once we can make that association with that one thing, like that happened in childhood, or just like that one thing that is going to make sense in terms of allowing a healing to happen, because this healing, like this regeneration of your soul, of your spirit, and this breakthrough is directly linked to something that, you know, ties into the bigger purpose for all of this, which apocalypsis is all about, revealing something to us that seems to be pulling our psyches in two opposite directions. And that's kind of what temperance represents too, is like having two things on different ends of the spectrum, and how do we harmonize this? Okay, so I feel like there is some clarity that you might be seeking, right? Or there's like something that you're waiting for permission to break through, or something, right? We're going to get deeper, because there's more that's unearthing the more that I'm talking, but I feel like there's a direct link between this unveiling, this like aha moment that might be a little bit uncomfortable, and this breakthrough that feels like it's inevitable, or that you might like, it feels like, I always see this as there's a bunch of little cracks in the surface of something as it's been, or a way that we've been carrying ourselves, right? There's like little cracks in it that eventually it's going to create this huge like falling apart. And so maybe this has to do with like the cracks you feel in terms of like all of the, you know, little ways that the negative self-talk and the negative confirmation of that negative self-talk, like the negative validation, or like feeling like you can't catch a break, or the second you start to be authentic, you know, someone has something negative to say about it, or whatever. You know, this could apply in so many different ways, this energy in particular. But I feel like there's a lot that's been adding up, is what this is saying. And like the resistance of not being able to break through is like creating a lot of disharmony in your field, or not feeling like you can really make sense of who you are, or feeling like you don't have a good grasp on who you are. And that's not necessarily a negative thing, because with both of these pages, I am getting the sense of a beginner's mind, okay, and staying supple in that regard. You know, so what I'm about to explain has a little bit more coherence. We're going to move on to this section of, you know, what you need to find, all right, is what came through for you. Pile number 1 had to release something, but pile number 2 has something to find for your destiny to unfold. This talks about finding that thread that links to your purpose, or that thing that's greater than yourself, right? So this person is surrounded by so much darkness, which, you know, that can mean confusion. That can also have to do with these like immense karmic attachments that seem hard for you to release at this time, like old versions of yourself, or like this old narrative that feels like it's expired, but you don't know how to break past. Okay. So there's something here about, there is what it is that you guys need to find or are being encouraged to find at this time is what helps you like make sense of the world. Okay, whether that is looking to teachers or deepening into your spirituality, or I feel like the energetic backdrop of here is aiding to this in the sense of, like, on one hand, you're ready to move past this old version of you, but on another hand, it's like there's a resistance to doing that for whatever reason. It's like you guys, maybe you just really truly feel like you don't have the tools to do so. But I am seeing that, you know, something that is, it's like you need to lean into it. All right, that's what I'm trying to spit out. There's a necessity to lean into it and not overthink things, and to have a healthy balance of beginner's mind with the page energy, and also wisdom with the sword, and heart with the cups energy here. And again, that's kind of what this temperance energy really is. It's about taking two things that seem like they don't belong together and melding them, like harmonizing them together, which, you know, air being very perceptive and water being very, you know, flowy and also perceptive, but just in its own way. And I feel like you're trying to maybe make things make too much sense. I feel like there's a lot of ideas here, okay? There's a lot of ideas, and there's a lot of mental trickery that's happening. I feel like this is really saying that you can make it through this. Like, the more that you fight and the more that you resist, this is like hanging on by a thread, okay? But the lifeline is still there. It's not that the lifeline is not attached to you, but it's like, I feel like you might just be surrounded by a lot of darkness that you might have forgotten how to find it. And there's definitely a sense here of not giving up, and like it's a balance of not giving up, but also surrendering that seems necessary here within this chapter of your life. I don't know. This can apply to so many different like areas of your life, but I feel like it has more so to do with like who you are as an individual. And there's going to be a multitude of ways that you have the ability to practice that. And what I mean by that is, you know, wherever you go, there you are, right? And so noticing when you start to feel like you're compromising your truth, or compromising your sense of self, or compromising any aspect of you, because there might be a fear of what other people will have to say about it. Yeah, this is really, because we have the World card and we do have the Page of Swords and we have this Fool at the bottom of it, like, in order for this next part of your destiny to unfold, this really talks about what you came into why you're here, like what you came to the world to do. So again, it's like the positive aspect of the shapeshifters, it's not so single-minded. It's not so just focused on one aspect. So I feel like this is about zooming your perspective out, and what's going to allow you to shapeshift into this version of yourself that you came to be, to like release who it is you did not come to be, and who it is that you've kind of adopted, you know, so you can be accepted by those around you and understood, at least to some degree understood, because we're never ever going to be fully understood by anyone, you know, not from the level of the personality at least. And that seems like the level that you're trying to meet people at. But as you zoom out, and, you know, I am getting a sense here about like exploring your spirituality, or exploring the nature of reality more, and deepening your understanding of Dharma, and understanding of like service and giving back to the planet, because that's what's going to help you through this time of stepping into someone that feels authentically confident, right? And it doesn't mean that these insecurities aren't there. It's just that these insecurities don't rule your behavior. I feel like I'm getting a sense of you feel very trapped and really tired of who it is that you've been pretending to be. All right. And there's like, again, it seems like there's a small lifeline, whatever lifeline you can find that connects you to something happier, that connects you to a happier narrative, and understanding that there will be better days ahead. I just feel like there is also this sense of feeling like you don't have the tools, or you don't have what it takes, or there's a lot of like limiting beliefs that I'm kind of picking up from this pile. But again, this is all about, how you're going to overcome this chapter, or how this chapter is going to conclude itself is by, like, it's obviously necessary. You wouldn't be going through it. This is a relevant part of your blueprint, a very relevant part of your blueprint. And this is powerful. These are very powerful, because on the other side of this energy is someone that is very unstoppable, and that who knows why they came here. And so I feel like this is really about getting out and exploring and trying new things and going in new directions, and not giving up on your dreams, and, not holding back your healing for the sake of anyone else, right? Not dimming yourself down for the sake of anyone else, and how they may or may not become offended by it, or like, fearful that you might not be around, because there is a little bit of like codependency things coming through here too, of like really people pleasing, and not wanting to be the reason why someone feels rejected, unaccepted, whatever. But it's like you are here for something big, and I feel like that's why there is such discordant energy that you're feeling. Like, that's why I feel like this shape-shifting in the fault line feels so intense. I feel like this is a reflection of the intensity, the longing that pile number 2 is feeling, in terms of stepping into that version of them that they came here to be, that you came here to be. All right. And so, yeah, I feel like, to move on, like, why is this here? The deeper purpose for this. There's a deep unveiling that's going to happen, okay? And all of this frustration is just building up. It's building up for the breakthrough, all right? And if you can just stay holding on, okay? Don't give up. Don't lose sight. Don't say, watch your narrative, okay? And it's going to make sense, all right? Just don't give up. You're on the threshold. Like, there's a lot here about karma, right? These cards together are huge to me in terms of karmic endings. And I feel like the scales are going to tip very soon for you guys. There's a new beginning on the horizon in so many different ways. And a lot of this has to do with like who you deep down feel you are, your levels of confidence, your levels of self-worthiness, what you think you can do, who you're going to be doing it with. Like, there's a lot here that's going to happen. And I feel like it's going to come in the form of a revelation. There's been some levels of self-deception that are happening here that's very apparent. All right. And there is a breakthrough that is right around the corner with this lightning bolt. Okay. And it might even come in the form of a teacher or someone saying the right thing at the right time, or like you're going to receive a piece of information, or, you're going to come across this video. Like, you guys are already kind of intuiting what this block could be. All right. And I feel like it's going to just be, this apocalypse, this energy sometimes comes in very harshly. Okay, if I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear, I'm going to tell you what's really up. All right, so it can come in the form of feeling like, on one level, we feel very disillusioned by our own self, or by someone else, or by an event, and then on another level, it's like we can breathe. Okay, and we're set a little bit more free in terms of navigating this reality, etc. And there's some, like, you guys are already sensing an offness about something, or this is also telling me that you kind of, we have this single eye all the way through, but this is really telling me you guys are already intuiting this blockage, or intuiting what it needs to change, or like why there is a block in you owning who you are. And I feel like it's a root thing, right? And these things can come in so crazily, like just to give you an example, I went into a breathwork ceremony with a spiritual teacher that, I've been following for a while. And I had an incredible revelation into my entire life up to that point in time, in terms of, I was calling it the unworthiness thread, or the unworthiness cord, which is interesting. This is coming up here. But my entire life And like the place I was sitting in when I was doing the things I was doing made complete fucking sense. And I had this incredible revelation of like, oh my God, there was a point where I was trying so hard to like deny my feeling of unworthiness by numbing, by like through drugs and alcohol. And there was another point where I was trying so deeply to prove it. But when you're trying to prove it, you're still living in that same space of unworthiness. So that was like this huge revelation that I've never been the same. And it allowed me to sink into such a greater level of authenticity and like just relaxation, right? And so that breakthrough was literally a breakthrough and directly linked to the healing. And I feel like you guys are going to have something very similar. And it's like you've been deceiving yourself in some way, and it's not negative. It's part of like, we come in and we know we're going to be deceiving ourselves. This is like the world of deception, right? This is a plane of polarity and illusion. That's what we're here for, right? But it's going to come in hot. And I feel like it's going to be this incredible revelation, and you're never the same. It's like once this breaks through, once you break through the fault line, you're never the same. You're forever changed. You're forever altered. And I feel like that your guides are really saying like, don't give up. Okay. You're going to find clarity around this part of your life very soon. And it's going to make sense. And you are going to get to a point to where you do feel solid in who you are and your gifts and what you have to do. And you're just going to be so magnetic, and regardless of what's happening, you're going to feel good and solid about your place in this world and what you have to do. But there's so much here about beginner's mind. Okay. And remaining open, remaining supple to the teachings, and not, don't resist it. Okay. Don't resist it. It's like that delicate balance of not giving up, not letting go, but also surrendering to this purification. But at the very most, don't like when those negative thoughts come up or those old belief systems, there is a huge sense of like, that's the darkness here. And you got just breathing through it and like letting go. So in other words, not entertaining it, not perpetuating that feedback loop of, the insanity of humanity is going to keep you connected to your lifeline. But yeah, there's a huge, I'm so excited just because this really feels like it's an incredible breakthrough. And depending on when you're watching it, doesn't have to be eclipse season still, but I feel like just because that's when I'm filming this, that those energies are very much so present regardless in this reading, no matter when you're watching this. Okay. But there's a huge revelation you're going to have about yourself, and you're going to feel like you have broken through, and it's going to feel so good. Okay. It's going to feel so good. Just don't give up. Don't give up. Head in the game. It's going to make sense. All right. It might not make sense right now. Looking forward, it doesn't. Steve Jobs. Okay. But when you look back, you can connect the dots, and you'll see how this was exactly what you needed, right? Because generally what we need and what we work ourselves through, somehow we help other people do that, that becomes our gift. Overcoming our greatest karma becomes our greatest gift to the world, okay? So I'm going to leave this reading here for now. This brought clarity, confirmation, peace to your heart. Please give this video a like at the very least. But if you want to, leave a mask in the comment section if you chose this pile for Shapeshifter. And yeah, I do hope I see you guys soon. Hello, group number 3. If you guys chose the Sustainer card, this is your reading for the current chapter of your life story. All right, so just in case you guys skip past my intro, no hard feelings, I do the same. But just in case you skip past my intro, I want to break down what these columns are and what they mean throughout this reading, okay? So this is the archetypal version of you that is being addressed in this chapter of your life. So like, what is the most dominant or needs the most attention at this time? Next, we have the where. So like, this is kind of like the energetic stage that this is occurring within. Next, we have like, it's kind of like the tool that you need to either find, use, or give up in order for your destiny to more successfully or easily unfold. And lastly, we have the why. So this is kind of like the deeper purpose for all of this unfolding. Okay. So just to jump right into it, I mean, before I clarified with the tarot, I thought this was going one direction. Shout out One Direction. Okay. Night Changes, my favorite song. All right. So Night Changes. All right. So, I digress. And then I laid out the tarot and I was like, oh, this was like completely different and like in a really good way. Okay. So pile 3, the part of you that is the most dominant is like such an inspiring, optimistic, creative, illuminated, loving, compassionate, warm, open, honest, like what other words can I use? Like you have come very far, is what I'm hearing. And despite the obstacles that you have met along the way, you have done your best to keep your heart open, to not let your heart close down amongst disappointments, amongst shortcomings, betrayals. And you have really done your best to see what the deeper purpose is behind these things that happen. All right, that's one of the reasons why your heart has been able to remain open, honestly, is because you have, I'm feeling like you do have a very wise air about you, a very like spiritual understanding of the nature of reality and why things are the way that they are. Even if you wouldn't necessarily call yourself spiritual, I can't help but see these energies present, right? Of just like, I feel like when we're met time and time again with like bullshit and things not going our way and maybe going less than perfect or less than ideal, you know, unless you're tied to that, tapped into that something bigger than yourself, it can be really easy to, you know, get depressed or to get down. And while those are like natural states to experience, like, I mean, like long-term kind of, you know, negative states. All right. I'm not talking about those parts of that are just the normal parts, right, of being human. But I feel like you guys don't stay in something long and like a rut very long, maybe longer than you want to, but in, you know, just in terms of what it means to be in a rut, you guys don't get in them very long, if at all, outside of those like pockets that probably feel very long to you. Just because I feel like you guys are naturally so optimistic and so heart-led and so just inspiring to those around you. And, you know, you've sustained this through thick and thin, okay? And I feel like you really have come to mold yourself and to shape yourself into someone that you're very proud of. And it has been because you naturally just like are really in tune with following your heart and your higher guidance, okay? So this is like very across the board, such powerful energy. I mean, you have two kings, you have the emperor, and you have like major arcana across the board. Like this is really telling me that you are a devout student of life. And in terms of the energetic stage this is happening on, I feel like this most certainly has to do with career, with your the King of Pentacles and the Eight of Pentacles. So I mean, maybe you have a lot of like 10th house placements or like Capricorn energy or just like Virgoan energy even, or just like, you know, making your bag. So even like Taurus, so I am getting a lot of earth, you know, but despite that, you could just be someone that is, what is it? The fixed, like a fixed sign in general. So what is that? Aries, Leo, wait, no, it's not Aries. That's cardinal. But like Leo energy, I believe Taurus falls in that category, Scorpio and Aquarius, right? You could have those placements in significant areas. But I am getting this just overall, the energy that I'm getting is that you guys have been like, you're not about the overnight success. And while if that comes, great, we would be open to it, right? Pile 3, but you guys know that anything worthwhile is going to take time. Okay. And so that's the energetic stage, the backdrop that this is happening in is I feel like you guys are going to be very self-made across the board. And I feel like a big part of like, that's why I am getting some like Aries energy or like first house placements too, is just because, you know, whatever is present, whenever the first house is present, it is like hyper present within our personality, right? And so it doesn't matter what planet it's in, if it's in the first house especially, it's going to be hyper present in the personality. So I just feel like a big part of what you do in life is like a big part of just you. It's like you're creating your soul, or you give your soul in what you do. It doesn't even, you know, Dharma, sometimes we can get confused and think it's like this big flashy thing that is like super creative and super different. But no, some people's dharma is to be like an engineer. Some people's dharma is to be like a CPA. Like they have really fun doing it, right? It's not about how it looks, but it's about the place you're seated in when you're doing it. And so, you know, with this being in the threshold, I feel like you guys are constantly reinventing yourself. You're constantly becoming like newer. You don't get stuck for very long. This is very much so like stepping through to the other side type of energy. And I am getting old soul vibes with how many kings are coming through, but you just know the name of the game, okay? So you know on the other side of every death is like a rebirth, and you're willing to put in the work. You don't expect it to be easy, right? That's the sustainer has seen a lot and been through a lot. The king kind of like, again, fixed energy, like doesn't give up easily, right? And probably has lost some battles, but ultimately you keep going, so you've never really lost, all right? And so there's this energy of like immense regeneration, and you guys are locked in. You guys really get it, okay? Like my heart feels so good, so open, and so clear about, look, we have the blues, we have the red, so there's like such a beautiful balance here, and like understanding, you know, which is like the purpose of all of this is, you know, the yin and the yang is what this aletheia, if I had a symbol to describe aletheia, which is the purpose for all of this for you guys, it's the yin and the yang. It's embracing the dualistic nature of reality and understanding that's part of the journey. You guys are not afraid of the journey. You guys are not afraid of the getting your hands dirty, getting your, you know, dirt under your nails, whatever, crawling through the mud, army crawling, whatever you have to do to get it done. And, you know, that's probably why you guys are living a very fulfilled life. For the most part, I feel like you have great connections and you have a lot of warmth and a lot of reflections of just the beauty that you bring into people's lives. I mean, a lot of people look up to you, is very clear. And so, you know, the tool for you to either find, give up, or to use for your destiny to unfold even more. So the thing I'm seeing here, though, is like, I feel like this is something you guys are already doing, but if anything, you know, the degree to which you're doing it could just be taken up a notch, because with the moon and the vow, it's like, whoa. Sorry if you can hear the recycle people outside. Maybe I'm gonna wait for them to leave. Okay, pile 3, I'll cut this out. You know, part of this energy too could be like you guys like always feel like you're almost there. Like it could also be like you're waiting to, it might feel like this energy of, okay, I know I have a lot to offer. I know like what I have to give, and you know, pile 3, and those are a badass, okay? And just like very wise, being very confident in who they are. And it might always feel like you're never there though. You're never there yet, okay? And so the vow is literally a card for it to come up in like the destiny to unfold column. And this is really like literally about shifting towards your destiny, like making that vow of like, okay, like it's like a declaration, right? A vow is like, sometimes it's like a physical type of ritual we can do, but it generally has to do with some sort of ceremony and some sort of declaration of like, this is what I'm doing and I'm not going to give up. And so with the moon card coming up, this could be like not giving up despite, you know, disillusionment that might exist, or, you know, again, the energetic backdrop kind of to me also suggests that it might feel like I'm almost there, but you're always almost there, or that you're like, never feel like you're quite there, or you're not there fast enough or something. And this is about like not getting lost in that, right? Because again, your deeper purpose of this part of this chapter is not about the getting there, right? But it's about the process. Okay. And so as long as you can remember your process, your dedication to just becoming the best version of yourself, which is what the dove to me represents, right? Like that regeneration, that rebirth, then, you know, it's all going to be good. Okay. And there's a lot here too about being flexible and about being dynamic as well. So I am getting some mutable energy here as well. You know, part of what could help you guys during this time, what I'm hearing with this is like, you know, there's this thing that's known, or that is like spoken about in terms of spirit guides, that, you know, whether or not you believe in guides, you can just say universal forces. Like they are available to help us, you know, obviously to a certain extent, but you know, there's nothing that is more like, our prayers are most powerful in our deepest darkness, right? Our prayers are most powerful when we are in the greatest amount of pain, and when we are in the deepest amount of confusion. That's when they're the most powerful, because that's when we mean it the most, of like, you know, help me. Like I need help. I need higher guidance. And so to me, this is also saying like a tool that you could use more is prayer, and is reaching out to your guides when you feel confused or when you're not sure what decision to make. Like, okay, Spirit, please make this very clear to me. And like one of my favorite ways of like creating energetic boundaries with like other astral beings is like only the beings of the highest love and light and truth are welcome to influence me at this time or anytime, like, you know, and only those that want to aid to my highest destiny and unfolding and opening me to my greatest potential are allowed to influence me. Okay, because they say that our guides can only help us to a certain extent, and then because there is that law of free will. And so if you're asking, you know, that gives them more permission to help as well. And so I'm hearing that can be something that you lean on even more, because there is so much of this independent type of energy. I feel like you guys are kind of maybe used to doing things on your own, and that's great. It's because you do have a strong connection to spirit and to your guides. And I am feeling that a lot of this, especially in the parts that are the most confusing, that, just simply asking for help and illumination could really take you a long way, and that you don't have to do it completely by yourself. You're never doing it completely by yourself anyways, but I feel like this is really about, actively drawing that line in the sand and actively reaching out to your guides and asking for help. And for some of you guys too, this could be about every time you reach a threshold, remembering that once that commitment has been made, there really is no stopping us. Once we're like, this is what I'm going to stand for, and settling for anything less is like selling my soul. All right. So especially when you guys get down on yourself for maybe not seeing things reflected to you at the rate that you think they should be, this is really not about, this is about remembering that good things really do take time. All right. It takes laying a solid foundation, and that time could happen, when I say it takes time, right? Why do we see some people seem like they're blowing up, right? In areas that we might be taking a little bit longer. Well, it's because we don't know how many lifetimes they've been working on something, and how many lifetimes they've been taking time in something, and we don't know their karmic, predicaments or anything. And, it's really fruitless to try to compare our soul's blueprint and our soul's journey to anyone's, because there are so many complexities and undertones that if we're just taking things at face value, it's like, of course you're going to feel shitty. The shittier you feel, the more it's like, okay, you're not seeing something clearly, right? Because clarity always brings peace. And so I feel like it's important to, one of the reasons why I feel like I'm being guided to get so more multidimensional and metaphysical with this is because the deeper purpose for this challenge that it seems like you're overcoming is to bring you deeper into the multidimensional nature of reality, and the however you would define or describe reality. This is zooming you out from the disappointment that may be existing for things not going your way all the time. And a big part of this too, we do have 2 cards that really talk about reclaiming your truth and stepping in the direction more of your truth. And so part of the underlying reason for this, you guys, I feel is cleaning up those loose ends of where you're still molding yourself to be a way that other people expect in big or small ways, because this really talks about breaking through and stepping into even more of your truth, right? And living from a space of where, they say when you hear truth, it's like a cool, calm wave just washes over you, and you just feel like everything's going to be good. And I feel like one of the deepest reasons for the complexity that you guys are experiencing in the realms of finances and career and life purpose and dharma is because it is getting you to live more from that space of feeling cool and calm and collected no matter what's happening. That's what truth is all about. It's it doesn't matter what's happening, it's all good, right? And so again, with this Emperor energy, I feel like this is really standing firm in your power, like the King of all kings, right? And making it through the hardest times with the 6 of Swords, making it through despite those appearances, and building something that is long-term sustaining. And it's interesting how many undertones there are in this reading, because it really does feel like it might seem on the surface like it's one area to you, oh, it's my career's not taking off, I'm trying so hard, or I feel like it's not that this is overwhelming your line of sight. I feel like this is just where it's the most obvious for you, of where you still are very results oriented. This doesn't have to be career, but it has something to do with environment, okay? Just physical, tangible, earthly shit, okay? Environment itself, all right? But I do, especially with the 8 of Pentacles, feel like it has to do with your dharma, what you're here to do, and wanting that to be your long-term sustaining kind of thing. And so, Spirit's going to do whatever it can to direct our focus into whatever area that we need to see this underlying pattern in general. Okay, and it's where am I still denying my truth? Where am I still kind of tweaking my expression, my behavior, so more people can understand me, versus understanding the potency with this King of Wands energy behind just fully being who you are, and not making that vow that no matter what, I will not sell myself short. No matter what, I will not dilute myself. I will not turn my back on my own self. And understanding that, it seems like these areas can sometimes seem unrelated, but I mean, it makes perfect sense. If you're cutting off your flow in one area, if you're like squeezing the pipe, so to speak, and that flow can't make it through, it's like you're cutting off, the capacity to receive that nourishment in all other areas. And so I feel like there might be a little bit of like, you might also be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and, kind of leaving back doors open too, is what I'm hearing. Maybe you don't really fully believe, like, you believe you have confidence, but maybe you don't fully believe that the life of your dreams is possible. And it's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So this is really about taking a stand and, making it clear what the fuck you want and what you're not willing to settle for, drawing that line in the sand again, understanding that those fears and insecurities and doubts, it's part of the process, right? That's part of this deeper underlying truth that life is trying to reveal to you. But at the end of the day, that's not what's going to make your decisions. Like, you are going to stand firm in your truth and what it is that you're here for. And it's beautiful because you already have you're already coming with this very powerful energy, but it's just like we're always mastering, we're always reaching greater levels of mastery and embodiment. And so you're already operating, at a very high level, regardless of what the fuck it looks like in your external reality. I feel like you guys are super tapped in, and this is just like a deepening into that sense of it's all good. Right? And good, again, those good things take time. Laying that solid foundation takes time, and we don't always know how our timelines influence other people and how they see our tenacity, perseverance, etc., how that affects other people as well. But yeah, there might be like, a little bit of accommodating other people, like being the sustainer is like the peacemaker, right? And I do see a lot of that coming through your energy, but not at the expense of your truth, right? And like what you're here for and what you're here to do, because this can also talk about like breaking through from that. All right. And so, yeah, there's a lot of there's so many different subtle layers to this that I am seeing that, overall you feel good about where you are, but there are a lot of layers to this, and it does feel complex. And on one level it is, and on another hand, it's very simple. And it's just about maintaining your peace and continuing to align to what it is that you're here for, and not judging after appearances. So another way of saying that is not letting what's happening outside dictate how close or how far you think you are, and not making it necessarily mean about the achievement, but knowing that, you will achieve. All right. It is written in your blueprint. I am seeing that for you guys. And it is just about, drawing that line in the sand. No back doors. All right. There's no back doors. This is what we're here for, pile 3. Yeah, but keep on doing you. You have a great connection. You have an open heart. You have warmth. You have tenacity. You have a lot of very bright, charismatic energy in your, own unique way. And that will guide you through. It just seems like there's a little bit of tweaking that needs to happen. But overall, the lesson that this is here to teach you is really to embrace all of it, right? And to not make anything mean like you're doing something wrong, or, other people are doing something right or whatever. And just, understanding these things are very complex. There's a very complex web that is woven within each blueprint and within each incarnation. And don't think that you shine any less than someone else just because you might be, skilled in different areas. And, there might be people that seem to be more successful than you or doing better than you or whatever. Like, I don't think you guys maybe trip on that too much, but I am hearing that's something that runs in the back of your mind, or oh, well, what's, this other person, like what's, so good about them, and like, what's so bad about me? It's not about that. It's about, again, it's like such intricate journeys that we're all here for. And, the level that you guys are operating at, there's no room for comparison, because these things can become very complex with other people's timelines and the people you're meant to impact in a specific way, etc. But draw that line in the sand. No more back doors, right? We're all in for this, okay? And it's going to come. It will, just slow and steady, all right? Take your time for sure, and enjoy the journey, most importantly. All right. So I'm going to leave this here, pile 3. If this resonated, please give this video a thumbs up. I'm trying to think of what could be cool. Maybe leave a cup in the comment section if you guys drew this one, this pile today. And yeah, subscribe to my channel if you've been here before, and I hope to see you soon. Hey, group number 4, if you guys chose this creator card, this is your reading for your current life's story. So just so you guys know, in case you skip past the intro, which, you know, I can't even be mad. I do the same thing. I'm going to break down each column for you. So this represents the archetypal version of yourself that's the most dominant and or needs the most attention at this time. This column represents the energetic stage that this is taking place in your life currently. This represents what you need to find, use, or give up in order for your destiny to unfold, which I love having a destiny card in this section is so great. And then lastly, we have like, what's the deeper purpose for this? And you guys actually had 3 cards come up. All the other groups had 2 for each one. And then I've been doing bottom of the deck for each. So yeah, let's get into it. So first of all, I love that we have the colors here coming up and here. Like they're the same colors. Like, I feel like this is saying that you guys, like the part of yourself that is the most present or that is being called forth the most at this point in your journey is like, it's very clear that you are here to use all of life, and like life is your muse is what I'm trying to say. And I feel like you learn from everything that happens in life, and that becomes your expression, that becomes your creative endeavor, that becomes your art form. I feel like your creations take you places. Your creations create portals for other people to experience more of the rawness of what it means to be a human. And I feel like whatever it is that you convey, whether you write poetry or you are an artist of some sense, like I feel like you are a great teacher in whatever it is that you, you know, put out to the world, right? And even if there's no even if it doesn't seem like a traditional teaching where there's like, all right, here's the problem. Now this is how to see life. This is how to do life, or this is how to A, B, and C, and D. Like sometimes I think we think that teachers just give us answers, when I feel like the type of creating that you do and what this whole reading is really about, this part of your chapter is about being okay with everything. And like, you know, with Anima Mundi, and like the purpose part of this is, you know, accept all, reject none. And so even if your teachings don't leave people feeling like you're giving them the answers, at the very least, like the greatest teachers I feel we have are those teachers that are like, you don't have to have it all figured out. That's not what it's about, you know? And it's impossible. Like, what does that even mean, having it all figured out? Like, there's so much. And I feel like the part of yourself that's being called forth the most, and that you're probably already experiencing glimpses of, is not needing all the answers, and not having all the answers stop you from doing what it is that you deeply feel like you're here to do. Okay. And I feel like, you know, with the energetic stage that this is taking place on, like this is about, you know, the cave is a place of darkness. Interesting too that we have both of the, I'm so sorry, excuse me, these like illuminated third eye here, and these are very correlated with one another. But I feel like what inspires your greatest creations that you may or may not know is when you're very raw in your expression and not trying to seem like you have it all together, right? The process of creation is very messy, right? And by you not trying to seem like you have everything together actually makes you seem like you have yourself together in a really almost backwards way. But it's almost like people that, you know, try to make it seem like they have everything together and I've got this under control. There's a sense of fear that underlies that. But people that are like, no, I don't really know what's happening, are just at least being honest, because none of us do, you know? And so I feel like you have spent a lot of time in darkness, and despite how much you go and you retreat into your own cave, whether by choice or whether by like having no choice, whether your choice or just you have no choice, it has shown you like you have done a lot of unearthing is what I'm trying to say, and discovering of the reason why we're here, or at least it doesn't make sense to you any other reason why we would be here other than to follow our heart, right? And the Two of Wands really talks about when we have options in our life, are we settling for the option that makes the most sense logically and financially, that is safe and secure on that level, or are we following the option that lights our heart up and that really sets our soul on fire. And with the Ace of Cups, I really am seeing that, there is a lot to suggest here that in as many ways as you can, you are choosing the latter. You're choosing those things that set your soul on fire, that set your heart on fire. And again, this talks about crystals grow in caves, right? The darkest, moist, these places that you, I don't know, wouldn't throw a party or anything or want to spend all of your time in, grows some of the most cherished and valuable things on our planet, right? Just from soaking in the darkness, this beauty emerges. And so I feel like there is so much here to suggest that soaking in the darkness is actually what is unlocking your powers even more. It's not a denial of the negative side, right? Again, reject all, or you could say that, or accept all, reject none. It's both the same in my book, it's all the same, right? And no need to distinguish this from that. And so I feel like that's what the cave has really taught you. There's a lot of old soul energy that comes from this card, right? And so I feel like you've come to a point to where, your backdrop is really about exploring those things that light you on fire and understanding that these two go hand in hand, that the most beautiful of creations come from the darkest caverns within us and the deepest amount of pain. I mean, look at some of our best artists and poets and philosophers. They didn't learn that from being happy people all the time, but they had a true sense of happiness because there's no denial of any part of the human experience. That's true happiness. That's true joy. That's a subtle joy, right? That's born from that level of wisdom versus trying to just run after the good, push away the bad. But I'm seeing that you guys create your best pieces when you are embracing that darkness and not running from it. You guys create the most beauty and touch the most hearts and are the best teacher when you are very honest about the dark aspects of incarnation and not making that mean that you can't also have a good life just because that exists, accept all, reject none, right? And so I feel like one of the tools that you could utilize more, there's something here about, you're holding on to some sort of pain, right? Or this could be saying that when pain comes, there could still be a subtle resistance and almost making it mean something bad or making it mean you need to fix something. Or this is really, you guys, with the Wheel of Fortune coming up, this is about just open palm to life, okay? So because we have the Lovers, you might have a similar theme as me where it seems man, I just when a lover does come around, I am certain they are the one. Oh, I'm so sorry for that phlegmy cough. I'll just edit that out, okay, if I can. But it's I can have such pockets of bliss and beauty with a person that I don't want it to end. When it does, of course, there's a heaviness. Okay? I'm going to be open and honest with you guys. Where I had a lover in town and I was grieving him leaving because it was such a beautiful experience. And then I invited him out to this event that I was a part of. I was part of a fashion show for a good friend of mine. And this friend, I always meet incredible souls through him. It's a bunch of creatives. Imagine just a building full of creative people, right? People that are so real, no facade, just so tuned in with themselves, not trying to put on a show, but just really to get together and have fun and just support each other's dreams. And everyone utilizing their talents, coming together, utilizing their talents, what they're good at to make something good of oh my God, we can fucking do this. This is really happening. So the guy that I was seeing didn't end up coming, but that same night, and I was already grieving his loss because he lives all the way on the other side of the states for me, so he might as well be in a different country. And I was feeling heavy-hearted, but I'm still gonna do this event. I need to create a space where I have a state change. And that same night I met someone and completely forgot about the other dude. And I know that's going to sound however it's going to sound, and I'm not going to make it mean anything because for a moment I was do I even know what love is? Do I have the capacity to love? Am I just a selfish bitch or whatever? And then I was what I know to be true about life is that I know very little. And so I'm going to let it surprise me and not make it mean anything bad or good. And that understanding that I have had many pockets of true, pure love with people, just pockets of eternity throughout my life and pockets of bliss and creative endeavors throughout my life. I've switched, creative endeavors that I thought was going to be the end all be all. I've switched lovers, you know, like just an open palm to life, you know, like what are you bringing to me and what is this here to teach me? All right. And not making it mean anything more or less. There's like a huge degree here of like getting out of the mind, and that the cave actually represents the heart in a lot of esoteric teachings. And to have the Ace of Cups coming up underneath that really solidifies the sense of your heart knows, the mind cannot keep up. All right, that's the accept all, reject none. Like your mind is going to try to tie so many different stories onto this, onto these things of why they're not happening, you know, the pace that they're happening at. But I really do feel like because it's like the challenge to overcome or the deeper purpose, like this is my symbol for you guys might experience that same thing of having like deep love, pockets of deep love and eternity, and then, you know, feeling like so much grief. And then it's like, where did that go? And the next set of like penetrating eyes and a charming smile comes into your life, you know? But it's really, I feel like you guys are on a path of where all of these experiences, like think of Taylor Swift, man, like all of those love experiences and those heartbreaks, like made her into an incredible creator to where she was not holding on to it and she was not ashamed that it happened. And because of it, it is like, you know, she is not only an icon and not only like very respected by a lot of people, you know, of course, when you're that well known and when you're, I don't know, when you're a fucking human, people are gonna like you, people are not gonna like you. Okay. That's part of it. But what I'm trying to say here is like her authenticity is what has created the empire of who she is and of like her brand, or, you know, what sets her soul on fire, and what has like been the perfect container for her has been all of these lessons, right? And she hasn't made it good or bad. She has embraced it, right? And so I feel like this is what life is asking you to do, is to not harbor those resentments or the guilt, or like, you know, this also does talk about the grass is always greener mentality. And so just like being open to what's in front of you now, and, you know, saying yes to those adventures when they come. So like always going towards your passion, and you know, knowing ultimately for you guys, I feel like anytime you try something, I feel like it's not long before your creative endeavors, like people start to notice it. Okay. No matter how many times you switched, all right, this is also me speaking from experience, right? And but just allowing things to all of life is your teacher. And I feel like because you're so old, like in soul age, that it's not going to make sense, and you're at a point to where you're very wise with the third eye energy. You're very wise about the nature of reality in a way that makes sense to your finite perspective. I feel like it brings a lot of healing to people. Just like your codes, what you embody, just because you're such a peace and contentment about the way things are. But you're also at a level where don't expect it to make sense all the time, you know, because that's going to drive you up the wall and take you into these places where you start to question the way things ended or the way things went, and you're questioning your sanity or questioning your integrity, when it's just like, no, it's like shit to do, people to see. Okay, maybe it's people to do and shit to see, I don't know, but you know, I kind of know. I'm kind of getting that sense from you guys, but totally kidding, kind of. But the deeper purpose for all of this is that so you're embracing the complexity that is all of life, and you're using everything as a medium to create. You're using everything as inspiration to create. Okay, and I feel too that, you know, a lot of things change for you quickly because you are so tuned in. It's like, I feel like you don't linger in spaces that have like overgrown or that have like become... that have just become stagnant, right? There's a lot of like, I am getting very cardinal energy from this. So, you know, we could have significant placements in Aries, significant placements, what is it? Aries, Libra, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. You could have significant placements of that in your sun sign, okay? But if not, it doesn't, you know, it's just about this initiatory, like starting things new, starting anew. There's a lot here about starting anew, going on new adventures, you know, your heart being sparked and inspired in many different ways across the board. And there's a lot here of like consistently like going into yourself, right? With these both to me represent that same energy of going into yourself, going into the heart, meditating, contemplating, right? And emerging renewed and emerging an even stronger and better and taller version of yourself. Okay, so I feel like to wrap this up, the current story of your life is like you're not denying any part of it, and it's really important. Like the biggest tool for you guys, I feel like, to really have your destiny take off, is there's a lot here about not closing your heart or not like denying your feelings. So if you need to grieve, that's fine. Like, you guys are so wise that I feel like if anything, you might be like, oh, it's stupid to grieve over this. I know that, I know it's all good. I know it's all good. I know it's not going to work out or whatever. But even if we know someone or something is not it for us, we can still grieve over the time that we shared, because, that's another aspect of God. That's another aspect of the universe. That's another version of yourself. And like, any time we spend with someone, and any length of time that we get to know someone, another spark of self that we share true love with, no matter how long or short it is, like, there's going to be a grieving process if and when they're no longer part of our immediate reality. And that's okay. It's like, not thinking things are better. Don't ever think things that could be better. But then also, don't be in that space of, well, do what the fuck you want, but this is what's coming through, of like, just be wary of being in that space of like thinking just because it could have been different means it could have been better, or it would have been better. But I am hearing that it's really important that, like, this talks about having more things to purge that maybe you haven't. So there might be deeper grieving or more grieving that needs to happen, or just like opening up that emotional vessel even more. There is so much about the heart and the release. Okay. And yeah, this represents not holding on to things, right? Not holding on to things that have expired, and like just being in flow with things, right? There's a lot of like this positive water element of keeping your heart open, letting that be a medium, letting that be the inspiration from which you create. Because I am seeing there could potentially have been a lot of grief in your life in general, focused around lovers, but also I think in general, it's just loved ones. And I feel like you guys have been weathered by life, honestly, and that you've have a lot of wisdom, and it's for a reason. I mean, the Hierophant to me is one of the ultimate cards of wisdom. And it's such a beautiful balance of love with wisdom. And I feel like, your heart has been shattered open, but you've also continued to have, great things come to you, and great opportunities and great people, because like, you haven't let that make you be a bitter person. And you've actually, I feel like, already been, in whatever ways you can, utilizing your setbacks and utilizing, your victories. Like, it all adds to who you came here to be. And I feel like you guys are very powerful. You guys are go-getters. You guys know what you're here for, and know that, in order to have a fulfilling life, there are certain ingredients that are necessary. Open heart, following your passion. And I think you guys have been doing that. And so now it's just going to increase the more that we're allowing that flow to happen. And that includes, again, not rejecting any part of that human experience, and not wallowing in the past too much. Okay. And like wondering if things could be different or should be different. And, not telling a story. Like, sometimes I catch myself doing this too, of like, if I know, like, sometimes I'm like, why did I say that to that person? Of like, I know that it's not going to work in this certain way, but why am I, it's almost like I'm trying to convince myself that it could work for whatever reason. I don't know if it's like part of a people-pleasing nature that I have or what, but I'm just like, why did I say that? That's not what I meant. So like, saying what you actually mean, only saying what you mean, and letting the rest go, and not holding on to, resentments or wondering, and just like truly trusting that life has your back. Okay. There's so much here about completion. It's interesting that because the creator is like an initiator, and Anima Mundi represents like the world card and like completion. So I feel like this is like, I feel like you guys are just very much so mastering, like in the realms of mastery and like spiritual awareness with all this third eye energy. And there's a lot of like phoenix rising from the ashes type of energy too. And like, nothing can hold you down. And like, this is a group where you will look back and be able to say that you truly lived. Okay. Just with the codes that I'm seeing here, you guys have truly lived the human experience and all of its, victories and losses and disappointments, etc. And that's really about what this phase of your journey has to do with. And it is all about the heart. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this has to do a lot so with like love relationships is an aspect that you tend to see this the most, where you become the most creative when you have a romantic spark. And then when that spark is over, there's also a different type of creation that's birthed from you. They're both powerful in their own right? Like, some on one end, it can be very manic and like very expressive, very bright, and on another hand, it can be very deep and very sensual and very like mysterious. But either way, it's like you're using everything that happens as a way to give back to life. Like that's true devotion to life. No matter what it is, it's like I'm here for the long haul. I'm dedicated, and you know that is what it's about, my friends. And you guys are tapped into that, and you know, that's a big part of what this current theme, this current chapter is here to bring you deeper into your heart. You're already super wise, and I feel like your creative endeavors will take you very far, and continue to lean into those, because I am seeing great success for you, and great prosperity, emotionally, financially, etc. You know, and whatever ways that feels prosperous to you, whatever ways are perfect for you. You know, I feel like you guys can already feel you're tapped into that. But again, giving your time space to grieve, understanding it's all part of the process. You always will rise. And then again, not getting too caught up in your head about like how different your life might look, because you guys are very advanced, very old soul. So it's going to look very different from the mainstream, and that's okay. That's totally fine. All right, my friends, if this resonated for you today, please give this a thumbs up. Leave a paintbrush in the comment section if there is one. I don't know if there is one. In the comment section if you chose this pile. And yeah, subscribe if you've been here before. Give this video a thumbs up at the very least. And yeah, I hope to see you soon.